In a few days, we will mark the fast day of Tisha B'av, the second most well-known fast day of the Jewish year. In June 1967, the city of Jerusalem was miraculously reunited in the Six-Day War, and religious Zionists had a dilemma when Tisha B'av fell just a few months later, because one of the most important prayers of Tisha B'av, the prayer called Nahem, which is recited by Ashkenazic Jews at Mincha and by Sephardic Jews in all of the services on Tisha B'av, was no longer true. This is the traditional wording. Lord our God, console the mourners of Zion and the mourners of Jerusalem, and the city that is bereaved, destroyed, scorned, and desolate, bereft of her children, destroyed of her buildings, scorned of her glory, and desolate of her inhabitants. She sits with her head covered like a woman barren and childless. Legions have devoured her. Idolaters have plundered her. They have cast your people Israel to the sword, and purposely killed the devoted ones of the Most High. Therefore Zion weeps in bitterness, and Jerusalem raises her voice. My heart, libi breaks for those they killed. My insides ache for those they killed. For you, O Lord, with fire consumed her, and with fire you will some way rebuild her. As it is said, and it quotes a verse, Blessed are you, O Lord, consoler of Zion and builder of Jerusalem. The religious Zionists no longer wanted to recite this prayer because it wasn't true. Thank God the city of Jerusalem was reunited, the city of Jerusalem was no longer desolate, and so on and so forth. And I'd like to present three theological, liturgical reactions to the Six-Day War and this prayer. The first was the traditional reaction of Rabbi Ovadia Yosef in his responsa Yechaved Da'at. The responsum is not dated, but it was sometime not long after the Six-Day War. And Rabbi Ovadia Yosef says we're not allowed to change the liturgy. The liturgy, according to one passage in the Talmud, was stated by Anshe Knesset Agdolah, the men of the Great Assembly in the 5th century BCE. We have no right to change anything. And he tries to come up with some apologetics why the wording of Nahem is still appropriate, even though we had reunited the city of Jerusalem. This is the approach followed by almost all Orthodox Sidurim. For example, the Koren Sidur, edited by Rabbi Jonathan Sachs in 2009, the new RCA Sidur, which was just published in 2018. They have retained the original wording of Nahem, first found in the Talmud Yerushalmi, and not changed anything. The second approach was the middle-of-the-road approach of Rabbi Chaim David Halevi, the Sephardic chief rabbi of Tel Aviv, and he quotes an expression, Dover shkarim lifnei Hashem, you're not allowed to recite something untrue before God. And he is no doubt also hinting at a passage in the Talmud, in the Tractate of Yoma 69b, which says that our ancestors were not afraid to change the wording of the prayers in order not to say something that was false. So what did Rabbi Chaim David Halevi do? He says, I changed two words in Nahem. Instead of saying Ha'ir HaChareva, the city that is desolate, I say Ha'ir Shehaita Chareva Ubziyah, the city that was desolate. And furthermore, he goes on to say, Hi Yashva Verosha Chafui. It doesn't sit with her head bowed down, it sat with its head bowed down. And therefore, by changing these two words, he has made the prayer more truthful in light of the miraculous reunification of the city of Jerusalem. And finally, you have at least 4 rabbis who rewrote the prayer of Nahem in light of the miraculous victory of the Six-Day War. Rabbi Urbach, Rabbi Avram Rosenfeld, Rabbi Jules Harlow, and Rabbi Shlomo Goren. I'd like to only mention in detail the prayer composed by Rabbi Professor Urbach, who was a famous Talmud scholar who died in Israel about 30 years ago. And that very Tisha B'av, right after the Six-Day War, he composed a new version of Nahem, which is called Rachem. It says, have mercy with your great mercy on your people Israel, on the city of Jerusalem, which is being rebuilt from its ruins, which is being set up from its ruins, and which is being once again inhabited from its desolateness. And the prayer goes on to lament those who were killed in the Six-Day War, who fought and died in order to reunify the city. And may the city which you saved from legions be an inheritance for the Jewish people. May there be Sukkat Shlomcha, may there be a sukkah of peace and a river of peace in order to fulfill that same verse we mentioned before, blessed are you, our God, who rebuilds Zion and rebuilds Jerusalem. And this prayer of Rabbi Auerbach was adopted in the Avodah Shebalev Sidur of the Reform movement in Israel, and in Sidur Vanit Filati of the Masorti conservative movement in Israel. So I think on the one here, and you have a classic debate here about what to do with a prayer which may no longer be true, and three different ways of dealing with this liturgical dilemma. Thank God we now live in the reunited city of Jerusalem, and I personally recite the version composed by Rabbi Auerbach in 1967. Shalom from Schechter, Shavua Tov from Schechter, and may you have a meaningful fast.